yeah, I'm going to pass it over to Alan, and we'll kickstart today's session on learning about the MetaVRse Engine.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. And I want to just welcome everybody. I know there's going to be people kind of coming in here, so I'll just keep everybody muted for now. But what I want to do is I want to explain to you what we've been working on for many years now, and really coming together as a product now that we're really excited to share. And the product's gotten way better over the last 8 months. It's come leaps and bounds, and I want to explain to you some of those changes that we made. But also, I want to get your feedback as to how you see this. Once you kind of see some of the ways we're using this product, the engine, I want to get some feedback from you as to how you feel that you would use this, and what are the things what are the features sets or some of the things that we need to improve on to make it be able to serve your needs. And so with that, I'm going to share my screen. So our mission, as I mentioned, is to unlock the power of spatial computing for everyone. But there are certain major challenges that maybe all of you on this call have actually experienced in trying to build these things. The challenges facing spatial computing and XR today are that you need specialized skills. You need to send either your team back for specialized training, or you need to find a team that has those specialized skills. It costs a lot because those teams are hard to find. And you have an upfront cost of learning curves plus building what you want. And then that's before you even know if it's going to work. So there's a lot of upfront costs. The learning curve is actually really long to build these spatial computing experiences. It's getting shorter because everybody understands that we have to be able to make these things. And it typically requires code. If you're not a programmer, you're locked out of the spatial computing creation process. And this is something that I found personally, that no matter how hard I tried, if I didn't know how to code, I was kind of locked out of the process. So the MetaVRse Engine was designed to be easy to create from anybody. It was web-based, so you don't have to download specialized software. You don't have to have a supercomputer or a crazy graphics card. It is easy to learn, and we have a very short learning curve, and I'll show you today how easy it is. And then you don't require any code. So we have a code optional environment. So if you know JavaScript, you can get in there and code to your heart's content. But if you don't, then you're also enabled to build. So really excited about this. MetaVRse has massive potential. It is 3 times faster and 2 times simpler than Unity. And that's Sakar Kaida, the head of the XR lab at Oracle. Some of the major features that makes this engine 3 times faster and 2 times simpler is that we designed it to be drag and drop. Rather than using code, you can literally just drag and drop code snippets. And a code snippet is a piece of JavaScript that allows you to drag it onto an object and give that object different superpowers. And I'll show you that as we progress in the demo. It's universally accepted. This works on all devices, whether it's a PC, a computer, a tablet, a phone, iOS, Android. It all works on one publish. So you don't have to build different builds for each of your devices. It's multi-user communications as well. So we have real-time multi-user across all the different platforms. So if I'm in iOS or I'm on a PC, because it's on the web, it's all the same. It's all treated equally, and we're able to deliver that real-time communication on the web. We offer web hosting, so the whole service can be hosted, and that's just out-of-the-box service, and then you just pay per views. But if you have your own hosting, or you will have security issues like some of our larger corporations, they want to host it on-prem, and we offer that as well. We have fully integrated features. So as of January 1, we're going to have the full game engine, 3D rendering engine. We're going to have the ability to have code optional, which is already in there now, but we're just adding physics, animations, and we just added audio and video, and it's going to be to the point where you will be able to build about 95% of all games and apps from the App Store on the web without having to build twice, and you can just hit publish and you're way to go. And of course, there's no downloads, no software, no special hardware. You don't need any of that stuff. So some of the interactive experiences that we've built, there's 2 examples here. If you go to metaverse.com and you click the demos button or /showcase, there's all the different ones that we can show publicly right now, and you can go and try them now. But if you hold your phone up to either one of these, you can try it, and I'll leave this up for another 5 seconds. But if you want to try that, you're more than welcome to. While I go through this presentation, you can try it on your phone as well. So we'll leave it up there for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and perhaps we can also put the links into the chat. Great. So what are we talking about when we say that it works on all devices? You know, at MetaVRse, we really prioritize the devices that are going to lead this revolution. And, you know, as much as we all want the glasses to be, you know, right now, the truth is, you know, VR and AR is catching on, but the majority of people in the world have a phone in their pocket or a tablet or a computer in front of them every day. So we are really prioritize the 7.5 billion devices on the left. And so we know that this is going to go phone to face over the next 3 to 5 years. So build for where people are, get them comfortable with that, get them comfortable with 3D and building these experiences, and then it'll just transform and we'll be all enabled with all the devices as they come out. Remote training. So let's talk about some of the use cases of this technology. This is, an ultrasound machine that was just in the demo there. And this was built very similar to something we did for a medical client. And the whole idea was that they weren't able to train people. They have a product, they are shipping it out. It has to do with COVID, but they can't send out trainers because they're not allowed to fly. They can't bring people in because they're not allowed to fly. All they had was manual and some videos and some PDFs. And so we took all of that with the CAD models of their product, and we made a fully interactive 3D experience. And I can tell you, they are able to replace any nut, screw, bolt, hard drive, fan in that machine without having to look at anything but this 3D experience. It is really, really dramatic improvement in what they've been doing in the status quo. Digital procedures and instructions. This is just carries on from that. Being able to show people what a product looks like inside out, being able to make things clear so you can see inside things. You know, these are certain things you can't do with physical products. Even if I bring you, a physical product, I can't show you the inside of it without taking a bunch of screws out and showing inside. But with the 3D, we can do that. And you can start to think, well, what if we want to show people, a slice right down the middle? What happens if we want to blow it up? And so it really, really does help. And we're seeing 90% reductions in human errors, up to 30% reductions in assembly times is really, really powerful technology. Creating digital twins of spaces is also creating a revolution because it allows users to visualize the actual space, walk around it in AR if they want, or just use it in 3D. But then you can bring data in from the real world into these digital twins. And so it gives you a reduction in space required. So if you're going to build a digital, a physical twin, it has to be the full size. But a digital twin, you can put anywhere. And it can reduce your reactive maintenance by preemptively showing you problems before they happen or as they happen in real time. Virtual showrooms can reduce time to achieve outcomes in all sorts of different things. This is a showroom that was built by Sprint when Jonathan was the head of learning there at Sprint. He used this to train up to 40,000 people in augmented reality, or 40,000 people in augmented reality using a virtual showroom, being able to walk up to the wall and touch the products on the wall. It's fully interactive as well. Super cool. Product showcases, being able to increase sales just by having an interactive showcase that allows people to click a button, interact with it, learn about the product, go deep about the features. Maybe you want to talk about what it does or how it works. It's all incredible, and it makes it so much easier for you and to relate to the consumer, and you as a consumer. This is really just awesome. It's something that you just want to touch all the time. Merchandising, being able to show products where they're not meant to be. So this is just a quick one in my driveway here, but imagine being able to take a product and put it in, maybe you're in Walmart and you want to show a display, maybe you want to show a factory machine that sets in, and you can put it in real size and see, does it fit there? So there's a lot of different ways this can be used. Design and selection, being able to show people inside of a product and design it together. So imagine going back and forth with photographs and going back and forth with these PDFs, and even on digital, it's not the same as having a 3D representation of something. Being able to try it and look at it from all angles, you can get to design much, much faster. This was something again from Sakar at the XR lab at Oracle, and what he did was he took a Bluetooth sensor and real-time connected it to our 3D engine and was able to rotate the model and just giving it simple X and Y coordinates. But think about the ramifications of this. We can now take data from the real world and bring it in because it's just web. We have the full power of the web. You just bring it in if you already have that. And so equipment monitoring, communications, remote assistance, all of these things can be streamed back and forth using the MetaVRse Engine. He also then took it to the next level and said, what if we connect the system the other way and collect the data out of the MetaVRse Engine into something like a business intelligence tool? So this is Oracle's Infinity. And what they were able to do was collect it. So when you click, every time you click a selection, it records that sentiment. Now imagine the power that marketers or innovators will have knowing what people are doing with their products and how long they're looking at them and where they're looking at them and what are the selections they do. This could be great for configurations, could be great for anything when you're trying to market a product, or even training as well. It can connect to a learning management system as well. What are some of the benefits of the MetaVRse Engine? First of all, it's web enabled. It's delivered through the web, so it's completely web enabled. It also will work on native applications. So you can publish this to existing iOS or Android apps or new iOS or Android apps, or apps on a PC. You can publish this to the web as well as native applications, and that is unique to us. We have a 3D web editor. It's a complete 3D environment. I'll show you that in a few minutes, but you can fully edit in the web editor. You don't have to download anything. No software installations, so easy to learn. The time to learn this is weeks, not months, not half a year. It's really, to become proficient with this, it'd be a few weeks. It's code optional. You don't need to know how to code, and this allows a lot more people to enjoy the benefits of spatial computing without having to call in different specialized project leaders to code and program. It's XR ready. Out of the box, we were ready to send this to glasses and VR goggles. And we offer on-prem hosting. This is unique to MetaVRse. We can build the entire editor and playback system on your cloud. So if you have security issues like our medical clients, or you just want to have everything hosted on your own and deal with it, then you can. And just so you know, the loading times are about double with Zoom on. So it's not, just know that when you're loading something with Zoom on, it's about double the time to load. So with that, I'm just going to show this quick demo here. This was a proof of concept that we built for Samsung for their Note 20. And as you can see, it's a beautiful phone, and we got it from their CAD models. So they provided the CAD models, we converted it to an OBJ, and we brought it in. And now you've got the ability to start animating things. And this was built as a training module, but you could see how it would extend to maybe a website for e-commerce, or even for just a marketing piece. I really love this phone because you can actually charge the phone off the other phone. It's kind of cool. But check this out. I never realized why that bump out on the back of this phone was so large until I saw this animation here. If I zoom in, you'll start to see the 108 megapixel camera at the bottom here. It actually doesn't go straight in like the normal ones. The normal ones, just the light goes in through the lenses and hits the sensor. But the 108 megapixel actually goes off a prism and the lens, or the sensor, is actually sticking out. That's why that bump out is on there. Pretty cool. So being able to show people inside of a product is absolutely incredible. Being able to call out features in a unique way. In this case, showing people underneath the hood, the processor. And then we can also add videos into this. I'll just turn it up. In the evening, I have audio. And that's all playing on a 3D model. And then, of course, you can bring in other objects as well. You're not limited to just one object. You can have multiple objects, like the S Pen here. And you can have the S Pen animate on something. Now, some of the animations were made in Cinema 4D. We will be introducing an animation suite that you'll be able to do animations like this from within the MetaVRse Engine, and that will be introduced very shortly as well. So with that, I'm going to move over. Is there any questions about the Samsung demo here?
We've got a few great questions in the chat.
Sure. Let's address them. Let's do it. What do we got here? Oh, wow.
So the first one is, in Unity, a project with a large polygon count, a triangle count, takes a long time to render and has a huge performance hit depending on your hardware. How does the MetaVRse Engine compare?
I'll show you. So here, this one is 1.5 million polys. Load it real time for you. It's loading on a website. I can put this link, and this will load on a mobile device as well. So this is 1.5 million polys. As you can see, it loaded fairly quickly. It's fairly reasonable, realistic, and you can start to see the fidelity when you zoom right into the dashboard. There's no loss of fidelity, and this is all polygons in here.
Alan, we have another question.
Sure.
Can you embed it on a website? And how would it work if you wanted the Samsung demo on a website, for example?
Certainly. Here's an example of it built into a website. So this is just a demo site. So you can see the window was built in the website here. And of course, this powered by MetaVRse can be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be powered by MetaVRse. With our paid versions, you can take that branding off and use your own. But there's how it would look like inside of a website.
And then one of the other questions is there a limit to how photorealistic the assets can be? And what's the process for getting the very detailed assets, like the little screws on the glasses or the stitches on the Nike and the multiple lens on the phone?
So those come from the CAD models of the manufacturer. So it depends on what you're building, but most manufactured products have CAD models of them. And so then you would have all those pieces. So they use the models to build the products. So everything that's in the product is in the model. What you will find, and especially like, this Audi, for example, and this is a good example of that. So this Audi came without an engine. So there was no motor in the front. So if I go inside the hood, you'll see there's no engine, but it did come with, the soft top, and it came with shocks, and it came with like all the different parts. And in order to make it run super fast from what we needed for aesthetics, we actually ended up taking out a lot of the parts from inside. So we actually took them out. And this comes down to model management and polygon management. You really have to prepare your models for what you need to use it for. Okay. So if we want to make it look super beautiful on the outside, then you can do that.
And I would just add real quick, there's no real limit to how photorealistic it can be, because not in our platform. So it comes down to the performance of the device that you're going to send out the experience to. So if it's PCs and computer only, then obviously you can have more photorealistic, obviously elements, because a PC can compute more than a mobile phone. However, that being said, there are ways to get those things, as Alan mentioned, almost 2 million polygons. We've tested up to 6 million. We don't recommend that just because of the computing power of a mobile device, but you can set up scenes, which I know I want to get to in the demo, that will allow you to only load certain things initially. So you can kind of chop up some of the high fidelity, the things that are dragging on the polygons and the megabyte counts.
It really comes down to being ultra efficient with your textures as well. So if you notice things that you're not zooming in on, there's no textures on them. Things that people are going to zoom in on, like this texture here, these are super high res textures. They're 2K textures, but the ones behind it that you're not going to really see that much, those are maybe 1K textures. Okay, so it comes down to model management and being just very smart. Video game people have done a really good job at figuring out how to how to make the maximum of this. So just be cognizant that you just can't throw everything in the kitchen sink in. There is usually a trade-off. You have 4K textures, you got to decrease your polygons. You can have more polygons, you decrease your textures. So just be cognizant of that. But we, like I said, we've been able to add, and Jonathan mentioned 6 million polygons. We've been able to add enormous files into this, all running on mobile. This one you're seeing right now will run on your mobile device as well. So it'll run on AR glasses and that sort of thing as well. Okay.
Alan, before you shift over to the actual engine and showing everybody, I think just going back to the Samsung one, I just personally like to highlight, because I was part of creating this project with our team, that we added, first of all, we added a quiz into this. This was part of the requirements from Samsung. And again, this was a pilot, so we only did 7 questions, and they managed to get the the results from this little test that we did. In all, this entire experience was 30 interactions. So this is how we start to work with our projects, and how many interactions are we building in an experience. So one of the machines that we did in the summer, it was a medical machine. There was 332. It was something crazy like that. This particular one was 30. And
it was 360, the other one.
360.
360 interactions. So that means
so
every button. It was 360.
So basically every button is an interaction, and whether an animation plays out, a video plays out, the pen scribes, something happens when you click. It's all about responses. So this particular one, and I thought it would be interesting for this group too, just to know that this took less than 2 weeks to build. From start to finish, this entire experience was launched within a 14-day period, and we produced it in 14 days. So just to keep that in the back of your mind as we're talking about all these. It was with CAD models.
It might take a while.
we did have to add some components to the CAD because we didn't have the complete motherboard. So what we had to do is take bits and pieces, and we obviously had it authorized, but we had to get pieces of another motherboard of a Samsung phone.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
Alan muted me apparently. So anyways, I'll let you go back, but I thought it would be interesting. There's another question. Somebody's asking about occlusion and occlusion culling by any chance.
That's a good question. You mean in AR? Who has that question? Maybe we can just.
Yes, in AR. That's what they're asking.
Okay, so
yes.
Because we use AR, and actually I'll demo that quick. Where's my phone here? I'm going to jump into the call on my phone, and then I'm going to share my screen, and I will show you AR. And the whole way we do AR, just to be clear, is we actually.
Maybe I could add to this.
Please go ahead.
Occlusions are available as part of AR Core with Google, and I believe, I'm not sure Apple, I don't think so yet, but probably soon. So we have access to all the functionality that is offered by AR Core and AR Kit from Google and Apple. So we can implement the occlusions that they offer. We don't have our own set, but we are capable of implementing anything that already exists within that architecture.
Should be able to see my screen on my phone. Perfect. So now I'm running this off of my phone, which is a Samsung. What do I have? An S20 with the Note 20. And then I can hit AR. And then I have all of the power of AR Core, AR Kit on the device. And you have no loss of functionality through that.
And somebody was asking what kind of image files does the engine accept? Paul, did you want to answer that one?
Sure, it's JPEGs, PNGs, TIFFs, and HDRs.
And OBJs and FBXs.
And OBJs are not texture files.
Sorry. And soon to be.
No, those
GLTF.
Are not texture files. So you're talking about 3D 3D objects, which is GLTFs, OBJs, and FBXs. But the texture files are JPEGs, PNGs, TIFFs, and HDRs for Skybox.
Now we get to do the fun part. Okay, let's everybody turn on your camera. I'm going to actually take a quick snapshot. If everybody turn on your camera for a second, we'll do a shot with everybody here. Hey, I see Waleed. There he is. All right, ready? There's everybody. Okay, turn on your. We're going to do a screenshot here. Awesome. Hey, there's Nathan. Hey, it's so cool to see people. Wow. It's not just a bunch of random names. Awesome. Oh, so good. Okay, hold on one second. I'm going to take a picture in 3, 2, 1, smile. All right, hold on. All right, I think I got it. So, all right, so we're going to create a project together. You can still see my screen, is that correct?
So just so everybody knows, Alan's loading up the engine on engine.metaverse.com. And I don't, oh, there it is. Okay. He's got a screenshot there. He's going to capture some images for this demo, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we hope you actually go in and create an account. It's free for the basic level, and that gives you up to 100 megs on a project and up to 5 projects. So you can certainly try everything out. We're looking forward to seeing what you create at the end of this, but that's how Alan got to here, is engine.metaverse.com.
Okay. So I'm in the editor now, and I just dragged and dropped that file onto my screen, and it gives me the option to import. So I just put demo. You can make a new folder, and you can import the files directly in. It's uploading them to our server. It's converting them. If there was an object file, it would convert it to our binary. And so now you have it ready to go in your assets folder. And so I'm going to take you for a tour of the whole thing. But before we do that, let me just do this quick. I'm going to drop a plane into the world. And I'm going to make the size of this a little bit different because we need it to be, let's say, 3. Yeah, probably 3. And then we just take that image that we made earlier that we just dropped in, which is all of us. There we are. Okay, we'll move this here and we'll flip it. And there we go. Here's us. Look at how good we are. Good looking we are. Look at that. And I'm just going to scroll out a bit. I'm going to grab this light that's in front of it and brighten it up. There you go. And now I'm going to publish it, and you guys can all try it. I'll drop the link into the chat. Where's the chat?
So if anybody wants to scan that QR code, you can actually experience what Alan just produced right now, the plane with the image on it, and you can take a look at that. You can either Alan.
Yeah, I just dropped it in
the
chat.
He dropped it in. Yep.
Perfect.
So it's 3824.
Yeah, the whole idea with this is that we wanted to make it super simple. If you wanted to do something, just share it with somebody. So there's first part of that. So we'll leave that there for now as I build the rest and explain all the rest of the engine here. And we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm going to import some more files. So at the top here, you have 4 buttons. Import, which allows you to import objects. Obviously, objects can be anything from, like Paul said, OBJ, FBX, GLTF, GLB. It could be texture files, could be PNG, JPEG. It doesn't accept GIFs yet, but that's okay. You can do video, so MP4s as well and MP3s. So you have preview, and preview is just a real-time rendering of anything that you have in your scene, including any fly-ins, any buttons, anything you've made. This is what the end user will see real time. Okay. Then you have the publish button, which you saw there. And the publish button allows you to publish out to a web link. You can private publish, and it'll be behind a password. You can use a QR code, Android code, iOS code, and also you have the ability to put it in iframe. So you can put it on kind of built into your website, but on top, or you can embed it directly into your website as an embed code. And all of this comes with one-click publish, and it works on every device. Okay, so there's that. The next one over is feedback, and that's a button where if you get stuck, you have an error, request, bug, anything, you can tell us what it is, and you can fill out the information and share it with us. To the right of that, you have an undo button, which I use all the time, and a redo button. There's an I button here, and this is really, it makes it super simple for you. If you get lost, you don't understand what something is, you just click the I button and hover over it. If you don't know what an albedo, it says drag and drop albedo texture files from your asset library. Albedo textures provide colors to a 3D object. So if you don't know what anything is, you can just hover over it, and there's a video that plays and a little bit of an explainer for each one. Okay. Beside that I button, you have your account button. This is where you can look at how many project files you have. You can change your password, and you can also upgrade your plan. You can see how many views you have. You can upgrade your plan as well in here. It's all done through within the editor. Just below there, you have 3 buttons. The first button is what we call the gizmo that turns on this arrows up and down, X, Y, and Z arrows, blue, red, and green. And then what you can do with that is if you hold shift it scales. And if you hold Control Shift, it scales only in one direction. So you're actually able to transform with Shift and Control at the same time, and Shift is just scale 1 to 1. Okay. The next button over is the grid lines, being able to get rid of the grid lines if you don't want it in there for whatever reason. And you can also center your camera. So if you get lost, say for example, you're way out here and you're doing something over here and you don't know where center is, which happens all the time, just click this center button and it will take you back to 0. So now I know when I load this project, this is what it's going to load as. Okay. All right. So top left-hand corner, is everybody with me? Give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great. Top left-hand corner, this is where you save. Auto save is on by default, but you can turn it off if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. It's saved my butt. Because it's web, if you ever have a crash or anything, just refresh the browser. It's super awesome because it's always auto saving. So you have save, load project. So you can load a project, and what that'll do, it'll take me into the load project screen. And these are all your projects. So I have 300 projects in here. I can search them by name, or I can, if it's recent, I can scroll down and just check it out. Okay. You can also create a project and start from in here as well. And then you can import one. And I'm going to show you the 2 ways to import and why that import is important. So I'm going to go back to my blank project. And I'm going to show you how to rename it. First of all, we're going to rename it webinar. Awesome webinar. Okay. And we renamed it. And then remember I said you could import. So right here, you would be able to export your entire project and share it with somebody. So if I hit export, it loads here as a zip file. And if I go back into that load screen, I can simply go into my import window, take the unzipped file just exactly as it's exported, drop it in, and it will make a copy of it and do the exact same thing. So now I actually have 2 copies of Awesome Webinar. And I'm going to call this one Awesome Webinar 2, just so we know there's 2. Save. And then the last one you can log out as well directly from the editor. Okay. Below there we have scene, and scene allows you to add scenes. So I can actually add new scene, and we're going to call it scene 2. Okay. So now I've got scene 1 and scene 2, and I can scroll between them back and forth with this editor. So this is scene 2, there's nothing in it, but let's say for example I wanted to add a cylinder in there. Now we got a cylinder in scene 2, so we know cylinder scene 2. Go back to 1. And this is where you can start to make really large projects, unlimited really, and you just make buttons to go from one to the next to the next to the next. That way you're not limited by having all your things jammed in one scene. And they load pretty quickly between the 2. Next button over is the world button. That allows you to change the world you're in, and it could be anything from the color of the screen you're in to the skybox. Let me just turn that off. This is the skybox that we have in there as a default. So this is your studio skybox, and it's real-time reflecting off objects. So say, for example, I take a cube, and let's say, for example, I'm going to make the cube, I'm going to grab all the materials, and I'm going to make it silver, see-through. So now you can see the cube is actually reflecting off the skybox in real time, right? So, and I can also do that with any object. I can make it shiny and make it reflective off. So you have real-time lighting off of objects. And this is what we call physically based rendering, or PBR rendering. So it's a really neat feature of this product. It's not see-through. If I was going to make it see-through, I would then go back here and then change its opacity, right? And there's a somewhat see-through cube. So it's not see-through. It's actually reflecting the light. I want to just make sure that I'm clear on that. Okay. So, whoops. That's your world, and you can have the skybox on and off, and the reflections will still stay on even if you turn it off here. The only time it will change, though, if I go back to this, for example, and I'm going to make it mirror just so you can see. There we go. And if I go back to my skybox and delete it, there's no skybox. There's no light reflecting off of that. Okay, and the skybox could be this one as well. It could be something different, right? And you can see when I drop it real time, it changes. It's a different skybox. Okay, and it can be colored. It can be any 360 image, any HDR will work for the skybox. It's really important because there's a lot of cool things you can do with this moving forward. Next one over, you have a viewer tab, and this viewer tab, You can open several tabs along here, and I'll show you that after. And when you start to open JavaScript windows, if you're a programmer, this is where they would open here. I'll just show you that quick. And this is where it opens next to the viewer tab. And you can have as many as you want in here. If I had, let's say, for example, I have 2, I can open as many tabs as I want across the top, coding tabs. So I've got my viewer is always there locked in. And then I've got my JS tabs as well. We can show you that in a minute. Next one down, I've got add video, add light, add a camera, add a HUD, add a configuration, add an object group, or add a primitive or a 3D shape. So all the 3D shapes are there. You can add, anything you want. So I'm going to add a video and show you how easy that is. But let's start with the import button. I'm going to import a project and walk you through building this project in the next few minutes. So import. I'm going to grab my trusty yellow robot, and I don't need the controllers anymore. Go. And it's going to ask me, where do I want it? Okay, we'll put it here. It's converting everything. Ready to go. So as soon as that's done, I can start working with it, but you'll notice it's still uploading here. So don't publish when it's uploading. That's the only piece of advice I would give you. Now I'm going to add a robot to the scene. Simply drag and drop my robot. And you'll notice that now my light is really shining and reflecting off my robot, because we increased the light of this, this light here, so that it would shine on the image for us, but it's also blowing out our object. So what you can do then is you can actually decrease the light a bit, just to not make it blow that out a bit. And everything, as you notice, what I'm doing is anything I touch in the 3D scene has what's called an inspector panel on the right-hand side. And so I can go from light to object, to light, anything in there, and it opens an inspector panel on the right. So what does that inspector panel do? Let's go check it out. On the left-hand side, we have transform, and that allows you to rotate or move things up and down, left and right, X, Y, and Z, right? And I can move it on the Z channel as well. I can move it back and forth. So I'm just going to put those at 0 again so I don't lose them. There we go. Okay. I can scale it, right, on X, Y, and Z planes. And then I can pivot it as well. And that puts the center point of the object in different points. So I could actually have it, and see how it rotates around the center of this object? I could have it rotate off of a pivot. So then I can move it. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Perfect. And now, whoa, sorry, my bad.
Alan, can you add another light source? Somebody wants to see you add another light source.
Yeah. I'm going to do that right now for you. Watch. I just clicked add light, and there's your light source, and I can click it. I can make it red if I want. Oops. Yep. And I can move it however I want. There we go. Okay. Is it pretty good? Okay, there's a light source added. Now I'm going to add texture files. Now this is where people get tripped up a lot in 3D. So if I click on my object, and I notice that I have these object texture file slots, and I can start to grab my texture file. I'm like, great, I can drop it in there, and I can add my metalness, and I can add my normals, and I can add my roughness. But if you notice, it only did the one part. So I have the ability to do, because it's physically based rendering, and because we have mesh level details, let me just mute that light. Because I have mesh level details, I can actually go and open any one of the meshes individually and then apply any textures. But because this one was built as all one texture, I can also just drag and drop it on to the whole thing, one at a time. Metalness, normals is like the bumpiness of it, and roughness is the shine of it. There you go. Now it kind of looks somewhat like a real robot. Okay, great. So now I've got that robot ready. What else can it do? So I've got my transform, which we moved it, right? Then we've got our meshes. So you can add the meshes there, and I can also, make the opacity less, exactly as I did before in any part of it. I can now animate it as well. So if there's an animation built into the object, it will show up here. And this particular one was built in Cinema 4D, but you could build it in Maya or Blender, and soon you'll be able to animate things from place to place within our editor system. Then you have an info button. The info button is the size and triangles and all of the information about that object and its unique identifier. And this is typically used for when you're using JavaScript. You can use this ID and make it do things. which leads us.
This is also a really good place to find out how many, how many triangles are there in this particular asset. And if you don't know about the asset you've brought in, this is where our engine will define how many polygons are in a particular asset or in the scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So then the last tab over there is the code tab. And I'm going to show you that now, because this is where this system kind of really starts to perform. So remember before I went up here and I just added a quick piece of code? Well, you can add three things. You can add a folder, you can add a JavaScript snippet, or you can download all of these assets. And this window right here is all of your assets that are loaded in, but not necessarily in your scene. For example, if you go in here, I have all sorts of things in here. I have a video in here. I've got a cube, and those things are not in my scene. So everything in the top left-hand quadrant here is everything in the scene. So I have my lights, my plane, my robot, and the extra light that we put in there, right? So that's everything in your scene, but your assets is everything that you've loaded in there. And those assets have a visual representation down in the bottom here. And then you have a console, and the console is for when you preview something, and it'll keep track of any issues. So the console started, but if you have any issues, if something breaks, it will tell you where it's breaking down here. It's very valuable. So you have your assets and your console in the preview window, but assets in the editor window. So now I've got all my assets here and here ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to add a piece of JavaScript. I'm going to click Add JavaScript. I'm going to click the Mega Controller, and we'll add a piece of Mega Controller. I actually delete the extra one, and I can rename that however I want. JS for robot. Okay, and it's a piece of JavaScript code. If I right click, I can edit it in vanilla JavaScript built right into the editor. And if I don't know how to do that, I can simply drag this piece onto the code snippet of this object. So I clicked on this object, I clicked its code attribute. Now I have all these different options. And this is where it gets really interesting. The camera one is a fly-in. So basically, let's say, for example, I want to have my robot, maybe I want to put it actually over, oops, sorry, I'm going to move it over the right a bit. So I want to have my robot, I don't know, maybe there. That's the camera angle I want. So all of these are position, target, and distance from the target. And I'm just going to use current camera, and this will just lock it in for me. I don't have to do anything else. It just locks it into place. So now if I'm anywhere in the scene, I click go to camera, it takes me to my camera. The next one over is your duration. And that allows me how long it's going to take to fly into that. And so this is in milliseconds. I'm going to say 4,000 milliseconds or 4 seconds it'll take me to fly in. Okay. So I'm going to close camera. Camera, pretty straightforward. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to go to preview. And let's say, for example, I'm over here and I zoomed out and I click my robot, because now the robot's the button. It's going to take 4 seconds to fly me into that angle. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's all that button did now. So we turned this robot into its own button, and the first button was put the camera there. Great. Second button is configuration. And now we have to make a configuration to do something with this. So the next thing that I'm going to do is make a configuration. So we have add video, add light, camera, HUD, and configuration. So check this out. I'm going to add a configuration. Maybe, yeah, there it is. Okay. And when I click configuration, this is the backbone of how you transfer, make things happen. Maybe I want it to animate. Maybe I want it to jump up and down. I want to do something. So I'm going to click enter config mode. And now anything I touch in the scene, I can change. So for example, I want to make this robot smaller. I want to move them down, and maybe I want to make it red on the 3 balls. Okay. Copy, paste, paste. So I've got that. Okay. Now I've got a red robot. It's there. And I want to make this, a bit smaller as well. And I want it to come forward. So that's going to be my animation, and perfect. I'm happy with that. Now I can turn that on and off. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn the plane right off. And now, oops, why did it work? Hold on 1 second. Let me go in here, this. I need to just turn this on. So now it's going to turn on when I click this configuration. So now I can turn my plane off. And when the configuration turns on, it's going to turn the robot red, shrink it, and turn on this background. Make sense? Okay, so now I've left it off, and we're going to go into the robot again, over to code, configuration, And I'm just going to drop that configuration right there, the one we just made, drop it on, boom. So now it's enabled and ready to go, and it's going to happen before the camera, not after. Okay, so we're going to preview it. And when I click it, it's going to turn red, move over, and turn on the panel. There, and fly in. Perfect. So it does exactly what I want it to do. So that's what a configuration does. And it could be anything. Now, pre-camera and post-camera JavaScript. So if you know how to program in JavaScript, you can put your code right in here, either pre or post-camera. And then object animation. Because this object has an animation, I just simply grab it and drop it in there, and it says, which animation do you want? There's only one, so I select it, and then it's going to happen after the camera. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to click the robot. It's going to appear, fly in, and then animate the robot, all in after 4 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to click the robot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and animate the robot. Perfect. Now it's done that. The next thing in that is video component. And so we've done our object animation. We dropped the robot on there. Now we want to add a video component, but we don't have a video yet. So we go to the top left again. We're going to add video. And adding video is simply click the video. You'll see a slot here. You can either add a hosted URL or a file link here. And I just happen to have a file in here that's a video. I'll drop it on. There we go. I didn't want it muted because it's playing in my ears. And loop. And there we go. And now I want to add it to, let's say, for example, a plane. I'm going to add another plane, and we're going to add the video simply by, and I'm just going to put it over here just so you can see it. I'm just going to simply drag the video onto the albedo of the plane, and it works. Right? So there's nothing really difficult about adding video to anything. And if you want to add video to something else, you could add video to literally anything in your scene. So I can add video to meshes now. I can add video to planes. I can add it to anything in the scene. Now you notice that it's not wrapped properly because it was not designed for that. It's just designed flat. So you would design your videos to be UV mapped to your 3D objects if you were going to really make them wrap that properly. Okay. So there's a plane. I've got a video added on there, and I'm going to go back to my button, its code attribute, and add the video component. I simply drag the video that we just made on there and play it after the camera. And so this plane will be there. It'll play after the camera preview. It'll start playing that video after the flying. Let's try it out. So there's the plane. It's not playing, obviously. I click it, flies in for 4 seconds, animates the robot, and the video should play as well. Great. So that looks great. I'm happy with that. I'm actually going to rotate this by 90 degrees, and I'm going to do something a little bit different here. Perfect. Okay, great. And I'm going to go back into my configuration, and I want to add this plane to come when I click it again. So I'm going to turn that back on. Good. And so now I'm going to turn off my plane, and my configuration is now this. Very overwhelming and trippy. Wow. So there's our configuration. And now let's say, for example, I don't want this robot to be the button. I want a button to be the button. And so you can add one more button across the top here. So I said add camera, light, add video, light, camera, HUD, and camera we did through the fly-ins. HUD is the last one of this whole thing. And the object, an object group, just so you know, is being able to put multiple things in an object. For example, if I grab a light here, I can move the light anywhere I want. Oops, I can move the light up and down, back and forth, right? But if I grab the object group, I can move all the lights up and down. Oops, why is that not working? Sorry, 1 second. I don't think I grabbed it. There we go. Should be able to grab all the lights and move them, and they're not working for some reason. Okay. 1 second. I have to refresh. I don't know what happened. Something crashed.
That's okay. Why don't we, there's a question from
Sure, go
Mike,
ahead.
and I think there's a lot of questions in here, but I think, it comes back to business about our engine and what it can do. And Mike's asking, one of the biggest challenges that he has is explaining plans and specs for buildings and 3D structures using 2D documents and static renderings. So customers don't want to work that way. So it's about design and engineering process. So he's asking, have you applied this to an architecture engineering application? And can you use the files from Bentley or Revit? And can you tie to a specific location on the Earth? So maybe Paul or Walid would like to jump in with some of those questions, because I know our team is very passionate about engineering and CAD models and stuff like that. So maybe Paul, do you want to jump in here?
This is probably a better question for Walid.
Okay, sure, Walid.
Well, in terms of architectural projects, we haven't actually worked on any product on that side of things. But when it comes to formats, right now we only currently support a few formats. One of them being GLTFs, OBJs, and FBXs. We are going to be supporting more CAD-related models, so you can directly plug into it. But for now, those are sort of the only things that we support. But from a development's perspective, it doesn't make a difference if it's an architectural or if it's a medical device. We can, build any type of experience. I think the concern here would be, can we take something from the software that you use for architecture and put it into our system? Right now, we're working on more support for more file formats.
And do you want to answer, can you tie to a specific location on this Earth?
Oh, latitude, longitudes. So our actual system has its own, you can say it has its own measurement sizes, and it's not tied to lat long. So it would work. I mean, it's possible to do that. You would just have to map our coordinate system with lat longs. And I think that's something we haven't shown easily how to do, but it's very possible. But it would require a little bit more work. It's not out of the box.
Okay, great. Thank you, Walid. And Mike says thank you. Joe Desiderio is asking, hi, Joe. If the video is via your URL, do you pull in the video cache locally, or does it remain a live link?
A Paul question. Great question.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure.
It's okay. I can answer this one. The videos that are coming from a URL, first of all, they have to be an MP4. They have to be publicly accessible, so they have to be a public link. And it works just like you would with an HTML5 video or any other video that you put as an embedded URL. So it's local cache, and it's gone on refresh, so it won't be persistent. I actually just tested out a project with about 850 megs worth of videos, and not one of them was in the project. The project itself was about 3 megabytes, but the videos were about 800 megs. So you can't possibly want that to be cached. So it's a link is going to be locally cached, and then on refresh, it will be gone.
Is there anything?
I just want to make sure Thomas's question. Oh, here, Thomas, can you link a live video like a public park camera?
Ooh, good question. Great question. Walid, that's
okay.
You.
So video questions. So it's doable. Right now, we are supporting MP4s. I mean, technically, we do support other formats. It's not something that we directly allow. Jumping through something like a Wowza that has some sort of RTSP stream is not working directly right now, but it's definitely something we're working towards. So you could have your, relayed videos working through our system as well. We're actually going to be supporting more types of streams like YouTube links and things like that. So for now, we're just sticking to MP4s, but under the hood, we do have the option of doing that, just not exposed.
All right. Are there any other questions there?
Thomas says thank you, and nope, we're good for questions if you want to continue
All right.
on.
I'm going to make a HUD now. So I don't know what happened there. I crashed something, but rebuilt it for you. And I'm going to build a HUD. So I added a HUD by simply clicking Add HUD. Right click as square, and that gives you a 2D button. So it's in your 3D space, but it's in front of it. So it's a 2D button, which I can grab. And again, you can change its, whatever colors you want. And we'll put it at 0. And I'm going to scale it down because I don't want it to be so big. There we go. And I'm going to move it up just a bit. There we go. So now I got a button in the middle of my screen here, and I'm going to make it do all those things that we did before. Instead of making the robot the button, I'm going to make the button. So I click the button, go to its code attributes. I take my Mega controller, drop it in, and I'm actually going to take all 3 of these and just put them inside a folder. So it keeps it neat and tidy. There we go. I'll save it. There we go. Okay. So now my button's got the Mega controller. I'm going to add the camera fly-in. So I'm going to want it to be maybe somewhere around there. That looks good. Perfect. So go there, camera, use camera. And I want it to be, if I want it, you know what, let's do it instant. So I'm going to do instant. I'm going to put 1 instead of 0. So it's just going to instantly fly me there. There's not going to be a nice pretty fly and just snap me to this space. Perfect. And then I'm going to close that camera. I'm going to add a configuration, which we don't have anymore. So I'm going to have to create it again. New config, go. And I'm going to click these things here. And so I want this one to appear. I want this one to appear. And I want this one to turn, we said red, right? Perfect. We'll make those red. And we'll just copy, paste, paste. Okay. So now I've got my configuration done. Great. I'm going to hide my sphere. I'm going to hide my plane, which is the picture. And then now when I turn off my configuration, it turns it off and on. So now I'm actually going to move this over to here. Now I've just got my robot in the middle of the room. And then when I click this, it's going to do all of those things and animate. So I click my red button again. I grab my configuration that we just made, drop it on, pre and post JavaScript, we're going to leave open. Object animation, we take the robot, drag it onto animation. And video component, we are going to add a video, which we did here, but we're going to add it onto a plane. No, we added it onto the sphere. So perfect. We don't have to. It's already on the sphere. So we'll go here, video component. We take the video we made, drop it on, and I'm going to play it after the camera and play, and that's it. So when I click this button, it's going to turn on the configuration, do the flying instantly, and play everything, turn it all on. Let's see if it works. All right, so there's my robot. I can look at it from anywhere. Great. I press the button. Perfect. So the only difference was it wasn't moved because I moved it after the configuration. So let's do this. We'll go back in the configuration, edit. I'm just going to move this out of the way, exit, turn off my configuration. Now let's try it again. And it should be perfect the way we want it. So no matter where I am, I can be down the bottom, top, flies me in, animates, and away we go. And since I really do like the fly-in, I'm going to make it 2 milliseconds, 2 seconds rather. Perfect, great. And that's it. And then, so if I want to publish this, I'm going to preview one more time just to make sure it does what I want it to do. Perfect. I'm going to click it. Flies me in. There we go. Animates the video. Ah, perfect. Now I'm happy. I can publish it. And that's all there is to it. And I can publish it. And this can be multiple things. It could be, multiple, of the same thing. Maybe it's a quiz. Maybe it's a serious game. It could be anything. It could be a configurator. The whole point is that I didn't have to write a line of code here, and I'm able to publish it out to all of you instantly in minutes. And this is super powerful. If anybody's tried using Unity and trying to do this, you end up with the same result. It just takes you a lot longer.
Alan, why don't you go through the publish buttons just to outline each action there?
So you have this link. I can copy that, and now it's copied. I can drop it into the chat. Paste. Okay, so it should work there. And then so I can then private publish as well. And if I put a password on this, I'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Private publish. And now when you have that link, that link there will have, you'll be required to publish it, put in a 5-digit PIN. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And the public, obviously the private publish is great when you're trying to keep a project under wraps and you don't want anything out there.
But you need to still share it with your team. Yep. Then you have the QR code, which is pretty straightforward. The Android and iOS code, maybe Waleed, you can speak to these and how they generate.
I actually just wanted to jump in on that. So for Android and iOS, when it comes to custom built apps, just like our on-prem stuff, you would have to contact us so we can work with you on how that can be integrated into your software. But it is available through a contact us, more higher level, I guess, support.
Okay. And then the last one, Waleed, maybe you can explain the web code as well while you're there.
Yeah, sure. So the web is pretty straightforward. I mean, you've got a website, drop in the iframe. You can place it wherever you'd like. Iframes are generally the best way to go ahead because you would have no worries about conflicting HTML, CSS, JS. However, if you did want to have direct, embed, you can use the direct button and it will give you a different type of code, which would be an actual div layer with the script. So you're fine in either case. The iframe is definitely the preferred way if you don't know what you're doing with the web development side of things.
Alan, I have a couple of things, please. Can you just show Thomas where the autosave is, or remind us all where the autosave is?
So
There's
top left-hand corner,
yeah.
You have the options for save, load project. Autosave is on by default. So you don't never click it would be my requirement.
Just don't touch it.
Just don't touch the autosave. It's just autosave on.
Yeah. The other request we have is, could you please do a demonstration with a simple primitive and maybe just throw on a couple of textures or a video file or something. Just show us a little bit with a basic,
Sure.
how you would publish a 3D asset using the tools within here, including the primitive.
Sure. We'll make a cylinder. We got a cylinder. And
so as you can see, Alan skipped past the menu. There's quite a few options that you can add from there.
You have a capsule here. I'll show you all of them. Why not? Yeah. So we just put them in last week, so we may as well show them off a bit here. So I'm going to add a capsule, which is like maybe a tablet or a capsule or whatever. You have a cone, the cone of silence, which I will be banished to. You have a cylinder, which we have, an icosahedron, in case you need.
You have to show the cube because the cube has multiple sides, and that one's different than the one.
Getting there. Plane, which we talked about. We already showed the plane there. Oh, that's not what I wanted. What else we got here? We got a plane. We got a sphere, obviously a sphere. Move that over and out of the way. And what else we got? We got a tetrahedron, as you do. And then you can do a torus, which is like a donut. And then you have a torus knot, which is a double donut. And these are the primitive shapes that you have. And you can, you can do anything you want with these. For example, I could add, I'm going to add video quick. I'll use this video here. So let's say, for example, I wanted to just add video. I'm going to go add my video. I think it's in here. There it is. Add my video. Perfect. Autoplay, mute, loop. And then I could just add the video to any of these objects. Right? Or I could make an object blue. Not red, blue. And I could make it maybe mirrored like. Right? I could make it very plasticky looking. And I can turn the roughness down and make it look like a plastic ball, maybe a little bit less, and I can make it pink. So you can start to mess around with all of these things. I could add an image to the plane that we brought in earlier. Remember our image of all of us. You can drop that in and just add that as well. So you can start to really just have fun with it, really. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to. It's your creativity unleashed in here. Right.
So I'm just mindful of time. We have just 10 minutes left. We have about 25 people still with us. So just wanted to see if there was any other questions from the group, anything that we didn't cover, if we went too quickly over. There's a lot to obviously take in, and it can be easy as dropping a simple, object like a shape into the space, with a texture or even just an image file, or you can get really complicated, obviously, with, fly-ins and different controllers and buttons and HUDs and stuff like that. But essentially, any interactive experience can be created within our engine and then published right away to the web. So,
yeah. Simple stuff, easy to use. And yeah, I think if you have any questions, we're always here to answer them. So I'm just going to publish that. And there's your link to that. I wonder if that'll work, actually.
Primitive mix, we'll call it.
The primitive mix.
The primitive
actually, one
mix.
thing I didn't show you guys, check this out. One more thing I didn't show, which I think is really powerful, is in the preview button, you have the ability to take what's called a hero shot. And this is one of the last features that I'll show for today. And then we'll get into some more advanced stuff as people progress with this. But I can actually take a shot of whatever I want. So say, for example, I want it to be like, okay, that's the shot I want. Perfect. I'm happy with it. I can just take hero shot. So take a shot or upload a file, and I can upload my image. And this is the one that will load whenever you load an object or whenever you load a scene. So I'll take that, save. Now that's my hero shot. Okay, so now when I'm going to call, what do we call it? Primitive what?
Primitive mix.
Mix, there we go. So when I publish that, and if you hit publish again, everybody now gets the updated thing. So if they link it again, it will automatically give them the most up-to-date thing as soon as you hit publish. So if I open this, you'll notice when it's loading, it's now got this loading screen. So that's my loading screen now. And it can be anything. You can upload any image file you want there. And then that
Or a
will turn
logo.
Yep.
Or a logo.
Could be anything.
Mm-hmm. One of the interesting things that you did a couple of weeks ago that gained a lot of attention, I know, was even just making your logo into 3D.
Yeah, that was a big, I don't know why. Yeah, that was, it was, yeah, pretty easy to do. So there you go. And again, that's real-time reflecting off of the skybox. So. Well, with that, I want to say thank you to everybody. This has really been a pleasure and an honor to present this to you guys. I'm really excited to see what you will build on this, because it really comes down to your creativity and your needs. We're here to make the best product, to make it easy for you and your teams to build it. So thank you again. You can sign up for a free account at engine.metaverse.com. And the account's there. You can build up to 5 projects, go nuts, share it with your teams, do what you must. If you have any issues at all, feel free to reach out to us or hit the feedback button on the editor itself. All right. And there's a get started guide at metaverse.com/get-started. And you can see it in the links there. So thank you again, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you build on the MetaVRse Engine.